Hi, this is Petri. Welcome, everyone. Hey, today's a great day to practice some figures. Last week we did figures and we did loose gestural um, uh, type figures in our painting, and we had a great time. And we realized that yes, figures can be challenging, no question. A lot of us avoid putting them in our paintings. It's totally. I know a lot of artists that watercolor artists that find it very challenging to do figure work, and so for our watercolor paintings, we can have fun with it. We can do a loose gestural type of layout of our figures and just have fun with it. And then as we practice um, our paintings and our figure work, it'll just get better and better. So let's get into the video here. I'm doing this video with overdubs, so we'll start the video. And here I just like to, usually when I start, I like to make a border around my composition. So this would be just a fun composition to do. This isn't a finished painting. This is just a nice fun composition of practicing. And I just hope you guys will join along and have some fun here. So I draw a nice rectangle. This is probably about 4 inches by 5 inches in size, so it's very small. And it helps to focus our concentration when we work small like this. So this is really a good way to practice figures is first, starting out small and getting a feel for it. And here we can choose to put our figures in, maybe one of 4 places, either, one of the 4 corners of the painting. That usually looks really good if you stick with one of those 4 areas. And so we'll do the bottom right-hand corner of the page of the rectangle. So here I'm going to start off, and I have a photo I'm referencing to the left. For copyright reasons, I don't always put the photographs that I use because they're from books, and I don't want to have any problems with copyright issues. I don't like to, take anyone else's work and copy it. So here we're going to do two women chatting, and they're just maybe they're by a house. So there's like a house there, maybe the back of a house, and it's maybe like a country setting. So here we're having fun. It's a nice, beautiful country day, nice sunny day out. There's a nice house in the country here, and there's just 2 women hanging out, chatting in the backyard. Maybe neighbors. Maybe there's a daughter and a mother and daughter, or we just have fun and think about our painting. And I'm going really slow. I'm looking back and forth at my reference photo. So I'm basically just going slow and looking back and forth, looking at my contour drawing as I draw, and then looking back at the photograph constantly, and just looking at the sizes of everything and the shapes and the angles of where everything is going. So here I have both figures pretty much roughed in nicely. We'll do an oval for the face, and then the arm. Maybe they're doing some work at the house, in the back of the house, and they're carrying some things or what have you. And do the leg. I put the leg, tie that down to the ground area. I did the shadow line underneath. That helps to tie the figures to the ground. So putting that line underneath the figures actually makes them feel like they're attached to the ground and not floating. And now we're going to just rough in the contour drawing the back of the house and some plants there. Again, I'm referencing the photograph. Occasionally I improvise a little bit and take artist liberty and change things a little bit, but for the most part I'm using the reference photograph for pretty much everything, pretty much, all the details. Couple windows. And that's a little bit of a setback wall back there. So there's two parts to the house. This part here I'm drawing now, that's the part of the house that's closest to us, the back of the house. And then the other part of the house with the windows there to the right, that's set back a little bit. So that might be like 10 or 20 feet back behind the other part of the house here, which is in the foreground. And we'll do a door here. There's a door, and then there's a line, a clothesline by the door. And we'll do the door a little bit higher there. And we're going to do the some towels or some clothes on the clothesline there. It helps when doing clothes like this, or anything on the clothesline, to do it just nice and kind of like quick movements, to kind of get the feel of like the flowing, if there's like a breeze flowing and you have that kind of nice flowing sensation. So you would kind of maybe draw them with a little more of a quicker stroke to it. And we're doing the steps here on the back door. And some more weeds and bushes and plants and things. And some more shadows underneath the figures. And we'll just do a little more detail on the doorway here. Again, since this is a small composition, we're having fun. We're just doing this for fun, practice, you know. Eventually, if we practice this 4 or 5 times, it can become a finished painting. We could do it in a larger format maybe. And so for the fun practice, you know, we just have fun with it. The main focus was the 2 figures. So the 2 women chatting here in the backyard, that's the main focus. And then here we're just looking at our brushes, just some round brushes we have with good points on them, sable brushes. Those are the best watercolor brushes you can buy, sable brushes. I'm using a 2, 4, and an 8. And I think I'm not sure, but I think I mostly, for this video, I just used the 4 and the 8. The 4 and the 8 size. I don't think I used the number 2 size. Here we have our palette. I've mixed up some okay, so here we have burnt umber, French ultramarine blue, and some sap green. So I'm putting this on my palette. It's not too watery, as you can see. It's got good consistency to it. So there's not a ton of water in my brush. So I'm basically going straight into the wet paint in my palette and then just putting it out onto my palette area here, so that I can get some nice mixtures of color. And I only mix it slightly on the palette so that you can see and identify all these colors separate. So we wouldn't take this like a blender and keep blending it and blending it and blending it. We want to leave it so that you can see all the identifiable colors here. So you can see the French ultramarine blue, burnt umber, some of the sap green mixed in there. Here is some, this is some raw sienna too as well. And if you need to see my colors, I have a video, My Palette by Petri. That'll give you all my colors I use, and what brands of paints I use. So here I'm just again putting the paint on the palette so that when I go to start painting, it's already on the palette, the colors I want to use, and they're sort of just mingling together. And for this small composition here, we're going to use those colors blended nicely. We'll introduce some other colors as well, but we're gonna blend the colors together. Here we're going to use the approach of sort of doing the lighter washes first, So we're gonna do a glazing approach here, which many watercolor artists use. So we're going to start off with maybe the lighter washes first, and we'll go around the figures. And we're going to have the figures have white clothes on, like white dresses. So these two women will have white dresses on. And there again is our palette. We're just mixing some alizarin crimson into the mixture a little bit for a little more warmth color. And we're going to go around the figures. Totally go around the figures and not really fill in anything. So we're going to go around. So this is negative shade painting again, which is watercolor is one of the for watercolor artists, that's one of your favorite tools in your toolbox is negative shade painting. When you paint around a subject, it appears. So we're actually not painting anything on the figures, but yet when we paint around those figures, they appear for us. So that's a great technique to use, your negative shade painting. You should always, as a watercolor artist, you think about that and how maybe you can use that in your paintings and your practice time. So here we're going around some of the leaves and bushes and weeds and things on the side of the house, doing a little splashing. And we'll just speed up a little bit here. There's some more mixtures of, that's some sap green and cadmium lemon yellow. So we're going to use that for our weeds and grass. And here we're doing our lights, we're doing our glazing, our lighter tonal values on our painting here. We're painting the door. We'll go back and add darker darks to these areas to give them more definition and more detail. But for right now, we can have fun and just take all those mixes of colors and just get them onto the paper and kind of rough in the house, the back of the house here. And we'll just speed it up a little bit. And we're just blending everything as we go. Here we're careful. We're going around those. We drew in some sheets and maybe some shirts or towels on the clothesline here on the back of the house. So here we'll leave those towels and things on the line. Well, let's leave those white, and we'll just put in some darker and medium tonal values around those towels and things on the line. And here I'm just carefully painting around the clothesline and the towels. And so here we're just going around. We're mixing the colors. Alizarin crimson, raw sienna, burnt sienna, French ultramarine blue, cobalt blue. Again, I'm using a lot of mixtures, but subtle colors. Warm colors, it's a sunny day, so we're using lots of warmer colors like the reds and the golds, and we put a little bit of French ultramarine blue and cobalt blue and cerulean blue in here and there. And then we're splashing here and putting in some more of the weeds and things on the side of the house, by the steps. So this is a fun approach, just really simple. We're doing a simple sketch here. We're going to move on to part 2 in a few. So here we're just roughing in the first couple, glazings, the lighter tonal values on our painting. And then we'll come back, part 2. We will get a little more detail into this small composition. Here we're going to just put in the roof of the other building in the back there, which is the other section of the house, which is further away. It's behind this section here, which is in the foreground. So we have the closer part of the house here, and this is the other roof of the house further in the back. So this is set back a little bit, maybe 10-20 feet. So we'll do a little bit of the lines on the roof, and we'll be back in a second.